How's everybody doing out there? I hope everybody's doing well today. I don't record a whole lot of videos. However, something came up recently that I thought was important enough that I wanted to try to put a video together for you guys. For anybody who saw what I posted recently, it was a response to a message that I received that suggested that African Americans were basically the causation for their own problems, that indirectly or in effect suggested that they were violent individuals who rioted, and therefore any disparaging treatment they received as a result from the police or anyone else was their own fault. In light of the fact that I really thought I did a pretty good job providing both contemporary evidence and historical evidence to dispute that and answer the person's question if they indeed truly had a question and didn't just want to confirm their own biases. In light of that, you may also know that so they responded back to me, and they were less than pleased with my answer and accused me of basically being a kiss ass to the black community. So I want to take a minute to answer the heart of that response back to me, because don't get me wrong, even though it was this one person in this instance, it is not isolated to that individual, nor do I believe that there are a significant number of people that maybe see what I have to say or they harbor these same thoughts. And so I wanted to answer that directly, because maybe, just maybe, it can give some people some different perspective or a different way of thinking about things than they currently have. Maybe they'll be a little more open-minded than this person obviously was. First of all, when we talk about the conflict, racial relations, the conflict between the police and the community, we're indeed talking about a conflict. That is very, very important to understand. A lot of people don't gather that, and they always say, well, why can't we just say all lives matter? Why can't we say blue lives matter? Why can't we just say, look, we all get along, and, you know, let's not make it a racial thing? Well, great. That is indeed what everybody wants. However, you don't resolve conflicts. You don't alleviate people's concerns by just all of a sudden saying, I hear your concern, but let's all get along. Because that doesn't substantiate their concern in a way that's extremely disrespectful. You're not even validating that their concern is genuine. And so when we talk about solving conflict, a lot of people might be surprised that a great deal of my inspiration or the motivation for how I go about things and is from an unlikely sources. You know, inherently I talk about equality, peace amongst people, everybody getting along. However, some of the biggest motivations that I gather from is actually conflict, specifically wars, conflicts. I look a lot at military history, war history. That may seem counterintuitive. How are you going to learn about getting peace through war? However, people fail to realize that when it comes to war, and, you know, the victory is decided by life and death, people often will shed all of their biases and preconceptions, and they're willing to do whatever they have to do to win. If anyone was following my page during Veterans Day, I made this very specific thing, saying that the United States military has always got it right. You know, they were the first to integrate. They've always done well in terms of equality. Not perfect, but better than the country as a whole. Because when it comes to winning, we're willing to do what we need to do to win. So I gather a lot of my, a lot of the ways I go about things, I get them from historical military conflicts and historical military leaders. You know, the Julius Caesars, the Prince Edwards II, Napoleon, Alexander the Great. I examine them. Shanzu is a huge source of a lot of the inspiration I use, his writings. Which, one of the things you learn in a conflict, when you talk about it in that terms, a war, what dictates how you approach your opponent or the other side? In this case, resolving a conflict means you have to make somebody surrender or you annihilate them. So inherently, in this case, they are an enemy. So how you handle that enemy to resolve the conflict, how do you go about it? Is it the weapons you use? Is it the tactics you go about it? Or is it the enemy itself? And the fact of the matter is, it is the enemy itself dictates the direction in which you approach them to achieve victory. It would be illogical to drop a nuclear bomb on one tank. So how we approach that one tank to overcome them depends on them. And so the way we approach, the weaponry we use, the way that we go about solving that conflict is dependent on who you're facing off against. Well, when it comes to the conflict we're discussing here, when we talk about race relations in this country, when we talk about race relations between minority communities and law enforcement, this isn't a war. We don't have an enemy. We need to always remember that. We like to make it into a war at this point. We like to call it the war on police, the war on black people, the war on blah, 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 blah. Shouldn't be a war, because to win a war, you have to make the other person surrender, or you have to annihilate them. That should never be our goal. But it is indeed a conflict in the same fundamental regard. So when you have people that are out in the streets and people who are saying Black Lives Matter, and understand when I say Black Lives Matter, I don't mean the organization right now. I mean conceptually the idea, Black Lives Matter, which conceptually means that a host of the African American population do not feel that their life is as important as white lives or law enforcement lives. That's what that means, okay? It does not mean black lives want to be better or more. It's equality. So, you know, when I'm mentioning Black Lives Matter in this video, I'm not speaking about the organization right now. I'm just going to use that as kind of an umbrella of the whole theme and concept that, quite frankly, didn't start, you know, with the death of Trayvon Martin and the emergence of the Black Lives Matter movement and organization. It started way long ago. You can go back to the 1960s. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. These people indeed said the same concept. Black lives are equally as important. We don't feel like you're treating them as such. So when somebody says Black Lives Matter, okay, that is the other side of our conflict. Now, they're dictating how we're going to resolve it. They're the ones that are bringing the concern to us. And in my case, the law enforcement community, I kind of cover two of these folds, where I cover both being a white male and the law enforcement community. So they're dictating how me, as a white male or in the law enforcement community, are going to try to rectify their concerns. Okay? I don't get to dictate what rectifies their concerns. I don't get to say, oh, can't we all just get along? Can't we all just be together? Come on, guys. You know, Black Lives Matter, sure. Blue Lives Matter. We all lives matter. Yes, they do. Nobody has said they don't. But they're expressing a conflict or concern that is creating the conflict. Now it is dependent on who they're expressing it to resolve that conflict. Same fundamental as a war. And so, without the violence, very important. I don't want you to get confused and see that I'm ever and by any means encouraging that. So, when you say Black Lives Matter, they're dictating how they're concerned. They don't feel like, an African American doesn't feel like their life is as important as other people's, okay? So, I'm not kissing ass in the black community. I'm trying to resolve that conflict. By, instead of going back to them, if somebody says Black Lives Matter and I say, well, blue lives matter, all lives matter. Well, yeah, they do. But I never acknowledged the original concern. I never even said that they were justified in expressing it. And guys, we don't solve conflict in our own personal lives that way. We don't do it. If you think about it in this context, if my wife comes home and she is upset with me because I didn't do the dishes, I wasn't holding up my equal partnership as a husband and as a parent in our household, and she says, you didn't do the dishes, Tim. And I say, but you didn't do the laundry. What does the laundry have to do with the dishes? Did I say that her frustration or concern was valid? Did I even address her concern? No. I became defensive. I became defensive and then wanted to try to bring in something else. I became combative. At this point, we're not trying to conflict resolve anymore, are we? If I'm not going to justify the conflict or the concern that she has, I'm not going to resolve the conflict. The only outcome then in turns is things become elevated, we become emotional, now we're having a fight, an argument, and is anything ever resolved then? No. Once emotion gets involved, logic is out the window, and now we're trying to win a battle. We're no longer trying to resolve a conflict. Does that mean that everyone's concern is indeed always going to be accurate? No. Maybe I had a reason why I didn't get to the dishes, okay? So maybe I do have a true justification. However, I'm not going to be able to get that in a manner that my wife feels better about the situation if I become combative, defensive. I must address her concern. It's the same concept of what's going on in this country right now. You must address the concern that the African American community is saying. So if there is a justifiable reason behind it, the first thing I've got to do is acknowledge I can see why that would be frustrating. Just like with my wife. I can see why you would be upset that I didn't do the dishes. You know, you have every reason to be upset because the dishes aren't done. But I want you to know it wasn't personal, okay? This, and this happened, and that's why I wasn't able to get to it. And I understand you weren't home, so you didn't see that. So you're justified in being upset on the information you have in front of you. But I want you to know that I respect the fact that you have the right to be upset about it, because from your vantage point, it looks like I just blew you off. Because by justifying somebody's concerns and listening to it, validating it and saying, okay, because you're expressing that concern, there's a problem here. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. See, there's this madness that goes on in people's mind that believes if you say, if you looked at anybody and go, yes, Black lives do matter. Why don't you feel that way? You know, what are we doing wrong? What are we not doing to make you feel like that? Okay? As if they think that by doing that, that suddenly the black community is going to run in your homes and take from you. That you're going to relinquish some of that power. Well, there's a problem with that. Because, first and foremost, that's not true. Okay? You can't sit here and use the evidence of a very minute point of any population, and I don't care what race, religion, sexual orientation, doesn't matter, and say that represents a whole. So if you've seen anything where if you can say, but Lieutenant Tim, I can see where this one black guy on YouTube said this. I don't care. That's not the African American community. Okay? That's him. Same thing with the guy who shot the officers in Dallas. Horrific tragedy, horrible event. That's him. Okay? And so we're not going to solve these conflicts if then we reverse associate entire groups by the actions of a few, first and foremost. If we're not willing to give people the respect to hear their concerns out, and respect that if they're willing to express them to us, they are a concern. There's something there. The black community is not saying, Bigfoot's running around our neighborhood. Bigfoot, no. So if there's a consistent theme, then there's something there. We need to address it. That's the bottom line. So in order to overcome that and actually resolve conflict, we must be willing to be respectful. We must be willing to respect other people's concerns. Okay? If you're unwilling to do that, then don't tongue-in-cheek reply back, yes, but all lives matter, or yes, why can't we all just get along? Let's just worry about our similarities and not our differences. Why has everything got to be racist? You know, why has everything got to be racist? Now you're going to call me a racist. Well, if you're not willing to respect the concerns of a large segment of the population who is expressing a concern that they feel based on their race, but you don't give them the respect to hear it out, what are you? Because that race isn't the same as yours, or that profession, or whatever, religion, whatever you want to call it. Well, what are you? What are you then? If you're not willing to give somebody else the respect to just listen to what they have to say, because just like I said, there may be a reason I didn't get the dishes washed. My wife wasn't home. She didn't see it. She didn't see what went on. There's a very small fraction of us in this entire country who are police officers. So there's a very large segment that doesn't see what goes on inside our profession. Are we sharing that? Are we justifying it? Are we doing it in a manner of giving somebody the respect to hear their concerns? And then are we willing to resolve it by being transparent and open with the public? You guys think about it. Like I said, I have my own opinions, but that's, I can have my own opinions. Me having an opinion and me going out in the world and wanting to get along with people and wanting people, no one to feel disenfranchised, no one to feel like they're not equal. That's great for everybody who comes in contact with me. But, my goal is not me. My goal is you guys. My goal is to raise my children to truly care about it and realize that equality means that everybody's concerns need to be heard. And to get over this crazed idea that by hearing somebody's concern that you are having something taken away from you, or that you're going to lose some sort of battle and be wrong. If you're justified, if you're telling the truth, if your behavior, actions are moral and righteous, then you will be able to alleviate that concern. And you won't lose anything. Because who's ever on the other side of that conflict, they're going to say, okay, all I ever asked for was equality. That's all I asked for. Thank you for explaining that to me, so now I don't feel like I'm not equal with you. So if your actions are righteous, you should have no problem with it. If you can't justify them as being righteous, you tell me. You tell me. So, food for thought. A little bit longer video than most people are used to. Of course, I write a little longer than most people are used to. I discuss things that some people don't want to. But inherently, I hope that some people watch this. I hope that some people think about what I said, and I hope that they consider it in the context of their own lives, because that's where it comes from. It's got to come from each individual internally, and not blaming other people and asking somebody else to fix it for us. So I hope that some people think about that. I hope some people take the time to watch this whole video and think about it, because I truly want to see this country, this world. I want to see people move in the right direction. I want that for my kids. I want everybody's kids to grow up that way. So I hope some people pay attention to it. I really do, because I truly only want equality for people. That's what I want, and so therefore I'm willing to listen to people. I'm not scared that anybody's going to take anything from me. I want people to feel equal. If you feel the same way, then you got to self-examine some things. Think of the way you've talked about some things. Choose to be righteous. Choose to do the right thing. So, hope everybody has a great day. Thank you very much if you've watched this whole video. Like I said, it's probably kind of lengthy, but thank you very much, guys. Y'all take care. And if you happen to be seeing this video because it got shared and you haven't checked out my page, please do, because we talk about a lot of these things and more. And so hopefully, I think, who says we can't change the world? Y'all have a good night. Take care. Bye.